Facebook only. There! Hooray!
Okay, we're finally connected after 4 attempts.
4 attempts or restart. How many refreshes?
But yeah, we're back.
Not a good restream day. Sorry about that. But look, there's like some pre-filled things about like, hey, do you support the people of Ukraine? Good stuff. Okay.
Audio levels seem to be okay. I'll start resharing the links.
Yeah, it's a live stream when we are able to get live, so it takes a while to go on. If you are in the future watching the recording, you can skip over about a minute or so. Well, actually, more like 5 minutes or so as we wait for people to join. If you are watching live, please like, share, help us get more people on the stream, and all that good stuff. Sorry, we're late. Major technical issues today, but we're finally up. So we'll see how that goes. And sorry for the hiatus of sorts. Last week was very busy. Next week may also be complicated. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, I'm just tagging and stuff. So
Yeah, I reshared on Twitter. Share another.
and checking my feed. Oops, in fact, my Twitter is like loading quite slow. I wonder how the quality is today. Probably not going to be great. Standard definition at best. If I
Yeah, YouTube seems to be okay. Okay, I can now see the Facebook feed. I'm resharing that to our mailing list.
am in the process of tweeting as well.
Okay. Um,
'Yep, we'll start shortly. Of course, it says we are having connection issues. It will be a miracle to get through today's stream. Okay, but it is uh, back in the saddle. Get your link ready, and then I guess we go from there. Twenty twelve, 2012, 2011. Okay, interesting. All right. Uh, I think we just get started while we're
well, we
still
have a
active.
connection.
Yeah, while we're still connected. So I'll tidy this away and then play the credits, and we'll get started. Give us a moment.
Oh yeah! Really great!
This is Tobie.
And this is
And
Rocky.
if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It's completely unscripted, not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us to talk about everything and anything random live.
And we're so sorry if the signal is weird. We've been having disconnections. This is our fourth attempt. We're worried this will cut off during the show. But if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. Today, we are talking about the Star Trek deck building game because we love deck builders, but you love Star Trek so much.
Plus, today is April 5, which means in the future, it's going to be first contact. and we're all hoping against hope that we're gonna meet the Vulcans and change our lives. So yeah, so it's first contact day. It's Trek Tuesday, and we get to talk about a Star Trek game. And we don't own a lot,
Yeah.
but there aren't also that many. Interestingly
Although
enough.
I've been wanting to get one, but one of them is like 3 players minimum, so I kind of realized it might not be good to get.
Okay. I think is that the ship battly one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Are we doing a thumbnail very quickly?
Hmm? Do you want to ship with their thumbnail?
Should it be more in the middle? I guess.
I'm trying to avoid the glare. Okay, you'll have to use your hand. I'll have. Wait, I'm trying to fit in there. Okay.
I think that's enough of a thumbnail. All right. So let's talk about the Star Trek deck building game. So we actually only have the original series edition of the Star Trek deck building game,
Yes.
but the first edition in this series is for the next generation. They were all designed by Alex Bykov with art credit going to Jack Hyung, but surprisingly, the publisher is Bandai,
Mhm.
probably most famous for being the person in the company in charge of the Power Rangers toys for the longest time
Mhm.
in terms of their US release. So I was not expecting them to have made a game, but to be fair, this line started in 2011. The original series edition came out in 2012, which
Mhm.
is quite a whiles away. That's about 10 years ago. And yet here we are. But at the same time, it kind of, I guess it was just, and then jumping ahead, but it's definitely not the most polished deck builder,
Mhm.
but it does, I guess, reflect the timing of its release and just the unfamiliarity of like, okay, Bandai made a game,
Mhm.
um, but it's not terrible. So I don't know. You want to open the box already, or how do you want to proceed, or discuss first mechanics? We haven't done this. Sorry. We missed the week. We're out of practice.
So the game makes use of deck building mechanics as well as open drafting, push your luck, and simulation systems. It has you playing against other players as you try to fulfill different missions by recruiting cards that represent either people or technology gadgets. I don't know what the official term was. That allow you to try to fulfill them. Part of the challenge is that the game actually has scenarios, and that the deck building aspect might be a little bit different from what you may be used to.
The conceit of the game is it's implied that you are all Federation captains of your own ships. And I guess it makes sense here in the TOS era
Mhm.
because all of our ships are Constitution class ships like the original Enterprise. Um, and then, but then it's like kind of competitive because sometimes you'll fight each other and
Mhm.
it's like little things. Okay. Um, and super reflecting of the time, the box is this size so that it looks great on a store shelf, but
The contents.
the contents are this small. And this is sleeved, mind you. This is already sleeved. This is all the cards. The only other thing is that there's was it a D12 or a D20? I forget. I hid it in one of the compartments. There are dice. There are D20s, but the main purpose was like tracking life.
Yeah.
Or okay.
So they're trackers, but then you have the cards. Ah, okay, let's. So you have easy access to them. There.
Ah, gosh, we need the reference cards because I don't super remember this. But where did I stick the reference cards? Oh, because the reference cards are the ships.
So in the Star Trek deck building game, you start with 10 starter cards that represent your crew and ship maneuvers. Each of you then try to fulfill missions or deal with events by recruiting the cards you need to accomplish them.
Okay, so everybody has their own Constitution class starship, and it says starship. Is
Mhm.
there an opportunity to get more starships in the game? At this edition, no.
Mhm.
And then the back of it is the player summary,
Mhm.
which is super helpful.
At the bottom, you see the 4 areas which are important when it comes to fulfilling events or missions,
They're color coded.
color coded to the green, red, blue, and yellow sections.
Speed, attack, diplomacy, and defense, respectively. And then the main goal of the game, on average, depending on your point target, is to achieve a certain number of victory points. The instruction card lists 300 at least. Sorry, which are 300 mission points as the victory condition. So how do you achieve missions? By encountering all these different missions or stories in the game and solving them by hitting the minimum stats needed to resolve them. Um, your player turn goes through as follows. You have an action phase where you can do any of the following in any order. It does not matter in terms of sequence. One is to play cards to your bridge, which is playing a card in hand into your play area, which is called your bridge. Buying cards from Starbase, which of course is your classic deck building. I recruit a card and I put it in my discard pile. Searching, which allows you to dig through the mission deck and kind of see what might be there. I don't remember the precise terms. One is search and one is explore. I can't remember which is which. And then repairing your ship for XP. Oh, I think exploring is actually resolving missions. Okay, and then that's it. And then you go to the trash phase where you trash one card from your hand and end your turn. If you wanted to do trash, which is one of these. So it's either you take actions or you destroy a card, which is sort of like in Marvel Legendary, where you can do your regular actions or you can skip all your actions to discard to trash all wounds in your hand at the time. So it has a similar mechanic.
At the start of the game, you start with a collection of base level cards. You have the red and the blue cards, the lieutenants and the ensigns. They represent the basic level, which in one you get experience points being the currency you use to spend and recruit cards. In the other one, it's lower experience points, but if you complete a mission, this allows you to trash a card in play, so it allows you to optimize your deck. Later, you could even recruit commander cards, which are more efficient in recruiting new cards, but they still kind of fall under the basic card sets compared to the more specialized cards you can recruit.
And then there are some basic cards that are named. For example, battle tactics, which give you particular bonuses. So everybody has the same starting 10, and then you kind of work out with that. Your star base will be filled with all sorts of fun cards, and then this game, to save on not save, but to, I guess, maintain faithfulness of the series, uses stills from the show, which is still my preferred method of any franchise game. Once again, looking at you, Firefly Legendary. But you can recruit some famous people from the original series game, which means, yes, we have Sarek, but then we also have the Romulan commander, if you know what I mean. So it gets a little, and by recruiting these cards, they go to your discard pile, and the next time you shuffle, then you have a chance of drawing these new cards, and then you have a better effort. The game manual stresses the need to build up your deck before you start searching. If you try to search right away, there is a high probability of death because it's quite dangerous, and you won't be able to solve any missions.
Different missions require different cards in order to fulfill them. You could see them here in the symbols below. For example, these are bad examples.
These are not great examples, so they don't mention colors. I think these also might be
these are the goals.
difficult ones. Yeah, but that's fine. No, but okay, if you look at the Tholian web, for example, we'll read the card text for you. At the start of your turn, roll a die. If it's even, you gain an infection. Then your goal is to generate 6 or more speed or 7 or more XP in a turn. And if you manage that in the turn, you get a reward from the card. So, and that's the kind of pro and con is it's not immediately recognizable what colors are needed,
sadly,
for the card. Notice there are still the 4 notches at the bottom of the card design,
which they didn't choose,
they didn't use to align to what's on your starship.
For standard cards, however, when you use them, you can stack them in order to get the sums of what you may need. So if you needed, for example, 7 green, and here we have 3, 4, 5, 6, then you still don't have enough to accomplish the mission.
But you still have to read the text of your cards, especially if you've been recruiting from Starbase, because sometimes they'll have special bonuses, like if you have at least blank speed, you'll get bonus blank, attack and stuff. So that's a fun little thing how it stacks. And and that's like the weird engine of the game. So it's recruiting cards, and then once you feel you're strong enough, you try to solve missions, and then you try to get through it. There is no cooperative play. There's no game, parang board game state to
Mm-mm.
fight against. Unlike other deck builders like Legendary, where you're trying to defeat the
Yes.
villains as they enter the city. This one you're really just going on your own.
Going against others because the concept is you're supposed to be in some simulation thing
Yeah, yeah,
and you're
yeah.
testing and fighting each other because yes, the game has you fight other players. You can attack fellow starships, fellow players by hitting their starships, and if you hit them well enough, if I remember correctly, you can cause them to lose cards or lose
Yeah,
missions.
because there is a thing, and I'm gonna have to go to the manual to refer to it properly. To be fair, though, this manual is like not bad at all for how these things. Hey, Mitch. Hello, Mitch is on Facebook. Um, where is that? Things that are called battle simulation events.
Mm-mm.
So there are 5 battle simulation events, and when it's flipped, all players will begin battle simulation, where we will now fight each other. But that's like the funny
Mm.
thing how this plays out. This is already labeled as the premiere edition, I guess, because it's the first edition of the game. Um, but the manual, and I know we're jumping again, but the manual, as I'm holding it, is actually very well laid out, and
Mhm.
like it goes into super detail
And lots of
of
illustrations to explain
every, like,
things.
this is your tableau when you set up your game, um, and then like, card anatomy, so many examples, um, all these things. So I appreciate the effort that went into the manual, but at the same time, there are like things that are not super. At the end of the manual, you will not feel like everything is super clear. I think when we first played it, it was a lot of like trying to figure out how this fit in our understanding of other deck building
Mm.
games.
They didn't
Um,
have keywords down yet.
yeah, there wasn't a keyword thing quite there yet, and then it had a different kind of approach. But once you get over the differences of playing this deck builder, it's not a terrible game.
Mhm.
And it does have a fun feel of um, being in a Star Trek universe. So
The
I'll
cards,
go with that.
given the cards do use stills from the show, then there definitely are callbacks to lots of the episodes, callbacks to the characters, callbacks to the technology, which allows you to have a lot of connection to the game if you really enjoy the series. I'm not familiar with the original
Yeah, I
series,
haven't gotten Toby to watch all of the original series.
so
It's
I'm
something I'll
still
address.
trying to find the earlier editions of this game, which included the next generation and the like. Unfortunately, publisher Bandai has announced back in 2014 that they are no longer continuing this card game. So it's going to be tricky to find them.
Yeah, but for those of you like us who managed to get their hands on it, it's still a charming little
Mm-mm.
thing that nicely celebrates Trek lore. I mean, they crammed almost every original series like major character. Look, it's a Squire Trelane,
Mm-mm.
and then it's all these things, and I appreciate it for that. And they are actually quite good quality images. I haven't seen stuff of this quality maybe since like the Tops trading cards, when that came around. So that still kind of works for me. But it is admittedly clunky. There is a definite um, clunky feel to it at times. Um, but you kind of those are the conceits of playing
Mm-mm.
this game, and then you just kind of embrace it and roll with it. And we seem to put the cards in a weird order, so I will just slip this back here and deal with this another time. Okay. Um. Other comments to be.
So I get puzzled that the game has no cooperative mode written
Mm,
into the rules. For
yes.
something that's Star Trek, you'd think cooperative mode would be the primary gameplay first
Yeah.
and not competition. Even as a simulation, you would have thought that the game would have had embraced the concepts of working together or finding a way to I don't know deal with things together. So something similar to the what was it called in Aliens? It's been so long.
Coordinate
Yes, something like the coordinate cards in
in
Aliens
legendary encounters.
would have
Yes.
been an interesting system here. We're in, okay, I'll do this mission, and then, oh, wait, I need more red. And then you could be like, okay, I'll help. And something like that would have been interesting. Um, the race to the points is also odd for me because they chose such a huge number, which was 300, 600.
300.
But then every mission is like 50 points or 75 points.
Yeah, they range from 25 to I think 100
So
points
it
per
makes you wonder,
mission.
why not just make it 10 points and
Yeah,
just get
yeah.
10 cards?
Why make the numbers seem so big, but then the
We have
minimum interval is 25?
Yeah, and we haven't seen, when in the few times we played this, we haven't seen any specific card that had like, I don't know, lose all cards that are worth more than
Yeah, like
this.
you think that the point values would have some sort of an effect, or
Yeah.
like all cards are now worth, I don't know, 25 less, then
Mhm.
that would hurt. So the it's just like the points don't matter. It's like I just give you points and then it achieves an end state.
Mhm.
Um, I don't have an immediate strategy for it. It's the game suffers from, was this super randomness. The
Mhm.
star base is super random. The mission deck is super random, and then it just kind of stacks, and it's a whole bunch of complicated
Mhm.
things. So and as much as there are different factions of cards, there are Romulans, there are Federation assets, there are Klingons,
Mhm.
but then it's hard to like really build a deck, sort of, so to speak, around any one thing. And I wonder if the star base needed a greater mechanic of cycling. Like, should the star deck, I don't know, let's say once someone hits 100 points, discard all cards in star base
Mhm.
and then change. Because what happens a lot of times is that the star base gets stuck for a while in a certain tableau of cards,
Mhm.
and it takes a while to build up experience for it. Your first few turns, you may only be able to purchase the basic cards
Mhm.
and constantly
And
trying to use
and
those things to move.
while that's not uniquely a problem of this deck building game, I
Yeah.
mean, Legendary can have similar issues. Um, I think what makes this one stranger is they have a 3x3 grid for the star base,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really matter. I
Mm.
mean, had it been something like, when you purchase cards, you don't refill it yet, but then once a row is empty, everything gets refreshed or something like that. If there was some mechanic like that that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
present, then it would feel like it made more sense.
And then because the recruit costs can get very high for named characters, so
Mhm.
like the Chekhovs and the Sulus of the world, then all the more the starbase gets stuck. So I know in both, well, in the few times we played this, we end up recruiting heavily from the standard, like the trying to get lieutenants into our decks.
Mhm.
It's like if you were playing Marvel Legendary and you keep recruiting Maria Hill. It's okay, it's a sound strategy, but it's not the fun strategy because you want to buy the heroes in the hero
And
deck.
when we first played Legendary, that was the norm. Grab Maria Hills at the start because you'll need them to buy stuff.
Yeah,
In the later expansions, they included characters that pretty much did that, which, while it rendered Maria Hill useless, it still allowed you to buy special cards and progress in the game.
for those unfamiliar of which card that was, it was the Shield Officer, but then we always call her Maria
Yeah.
Hill because it's Maria Hill. So
Legendary Encounters was a bit better in that the Shield Officer card also had a card that can be used for combos. So even if you didn't want to buy it for the recruit,
you
you
could get
might buy it for
symbols.
the combos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Star Trek had neither. Although the powers of the three base cards were present, one gave you more points, or
One could upgrade to a
yeah,
higher version of itself automatically. I mean, they're cute little things that happen if you succeed on a mission, but it's if you succeed on a mission,
Mhm.
and that the game has this slow early game period where you're all just, I recruit from Starbase and then I'm done. I
Mhm.
recruit from Starbase and then I'm done. And um, it's nice that there are no threats that are there's no like forced timer of the game, unlike games like Legendary where um a villain enters this a villain card is revealed every turn,
Mhm.
and then it may enter the city as a villain or cause bad things to happen,
Mhm.
which kind of gives you a sense of urgency. This game, you could recruit from Starbase forever, and if nobody decides to to search, nothing's gonna happen. It's just gonna be, we're all gonna have a happy deck.
What was the last deck builder we just played?
Deck builder Transformers. We
Transformers.
played the Transformers one.
Because Transformers also had a timer.
Yeah, but
if it runs
the
out.
cards entering the matrix. If you don't add a card to the matrix,
Mm.
you must
So
destroy.
so this one's similar to Transformers in that there is a grid for the shopping
But in
area
Transformers, the grid made sense
because you had to
you
travel
had to
around.
move.
So this one could have had something like that. I don't know why it didn't.
If things were
Um,
like I don't know cheaper in the lower row and more expensive in the
yeah, I was
higher
wondering
row.
if it was a level we're in, you know, sort of like Splendor, where the first row is the cheapest cards, and then second row is better, and then third is most expensive, but sometimes trickier to use. Then it would have made sense.
It's so it has a lot of opportunities,
Mhm.
and we talk about it not to really riff on it that hard, but just to feel the frustration of you already have the IP, and
Mm.
I wish we had done more with it. It kind of brings me back to things like the Star Trek collectible card game,
Mm-hmm.
which it was again great stills from the show, super enjoyed it, and then very thematic, and then but it was also still a little antagonistic against one another. But at least in that game, you could clearly define decks around factions. I could do a Federation deck, I
Mm.
could do a Klingon deck, and all that fun stuff. So this it just has that super random feel, but it has an IP I really love. So then it's hard to like balance how I feel about it. And given the only 79 episodes of the original series, then there are so many. I think it's pretty much every major story from that show was captured in a card somehow, whether it is just a character who appears in Starbase
Mm.
or a mission itself that you have to resolve.
Or a device that featured
Yeah,
in that thing.
there's a lot of fun things about it, and I appreciate that effort. Um, yeah. So, what else do we want to say? I wish there was more in this box. As they call it, a premiere edition. The most premiere thing is the manual, I think.
And even the dice weren't particularly special.
Yeah, there is no customization. They are white D20s.
No, no icon, no symbol. So
Bandai, why?
yeah, were you like reserving all the good stuff for a Power Rangers related thing or a Sentai related game?
So there are only three games in this entire series, which is the original series one, the next generation one, and something called Next Generation Next Phase, which seems to be Borgy. I think if it's anything in comparison to this box, I'm pretty sure you can fit all of these games, all three Star Trek games, into the same box because there's just so much space.
Oh,
Um,
I did not realize Navia Draft was one of the games Bandai released as well.
oh, I remember that one.
Yeah,
We played that at like
the
public
transforming
events.
chess game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Yeah.
kind of cute.
But a lot of it is at Doraemon, Evangelion,
Obviously a lot of franchise stuff,
yeah,
and that
Gundam.
and that makes sense. And it's just so funny, like how did they end up with the Star Trek license, even for a particular period? It's kind of funny, um, but not a bad thing. Are there any strategies? I know I complained about the randomness. Are there any strategies you can highlight?
So with the four different colored bars that have their own ratings, this reminds me of another game. It's a worker placement game called The Builders,
Mm.
where you have to hit certain requirements in order to build certain structures, and those four requirements are split up into those colors as well. So it always pays to spread out. You want to, of course, grab the big value when you can, so that you can easily hit that category faster. But it always helps to spread out here. If the simulation battles matter to you, speed is important. The speed allows you to hit first.
Mm. But
Um,
you also need actual attack values
yeah,
to attack.
and in the end, we don't really feel the simulation battles really doing much.
But to be fair, we've only played this mainly as a two-player experience
Mhm.
over the course of this pandemic, so it might feel a little crazier, bigger.
Yes, the builders is in the game in the tin can.
But that one you would align like on the side, to see what each builder does.
And then I was kind of hoping this game, given the richness of the franchise, used mechanics related to that franchise more. So
Mm.
they sort of tried to do that with some of the cards we're in. This does that, so you can upgrade this faster, or this does that, so you can get rid of this character. But then I was sort of hoping, um, like there were more event cards, or there were more things that reflected the episodes.
Mm.
So like I don't know, maybe this card happens, and then everyone has to lose a character because that character's in sick bay or something, and stuff like that. The potential for stories would have been interesting.
Yeah, the game includes a few little variations of play options in terms of your card setup. It includes things like, oops, where are
Yeah,
they?
it mentioned the exploration mode wherein you basically explore different places and missions, and then there's the infection exploration.
Yes, they include special infection decks, which pretty much cover every Star Trek episode in the original series where the crew got infected by something. So all the madness viruses, the aging viruses, and all that, they have special cards for that, which is helpful. But still, it's like, uh, yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Uh,
So I guess on the strategy piece, I would still stress that there is no shame in recruiting for your first couple of rounds
mhm.
and just focusing on that. In fact, don't even ignore the starter card, the lieutenants and stuff. The lieutenant is not bad because it upgrades into
Mm,
a captain, and then the ensign is not bad because it's a red shirt. Um, it gets rid of other cards.
yeah.
So it can get rid of itself if it needs to, which is it's the red shirt's job. And that kind of helps along. So yeah, don't be afraid to just work on your crew for a while. But at the same time, what's this? The reverse can also be true. If you feel like you're falling behind, you can add pressure on everyone by aggressively searching the mission deck.
Mhm,
Because if you trigger cards that have flip effects, so things that happen as they are revealed, it can mess everybody up.
mhm.
And you can just be a little spiteful, and because you can have several cards open at a time, and then all of those cards will affect people at the beginning of the turn. So I don't know. It depends on like how you wanna play this. Okay. Other things of
I guess my last one is I really wish they had a better graphic designer. Um,
oh
Everything is too small to read in this card game, and while I do appreciate the big area for the card art, it's always nice to be able to see the artwork. If your gameplay is focusing on the values, it cannot be the smallest thing on your card. I mean, there are bigger numbers for the amount you can use to recruit than the numbers you have to use to accomplish the mission. And that's a problem.
and it's like it's the four colors, but then they're kind of on this shiny gradient, and then the numbers are in white,
Hmm.
which is like a weird mix of things.
So you have a lot of readability issues with the card. The main body text is a black background with white font,
And it's a thin font because
and
it's that
and
Trekkie
then it's
font.
the thin font, and it's also very wordy.
Yeah,
So it doesn't do you any good. Last of all, you're talking about a fan base that at this point in time most likely needs glasses. So why would you design your game in
I
this manner?
resemble this remark.
So
Ouchies. But yeah, it's an artifact of its time. I'm surprised that it slipped under the radar for us for so long. And
and,
when we did
and then do you realize there's a quote down there?
has that it has that vibe. But I had not known the game existed. Toby found it randomly, got us a copy still,
Still
just did
searching
it.
for the others.
And we're still gonna complete and again there's it's that classic statement like with books where actual playing of your games is a different hobby from collecting games.
Yes.
And you just kind of live with that. We still bring this I would still bring this out a few times and just play through it.
We'll probably bring it this weekend.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. There are many options. Guys, we're meeting friends to play board games in person
After 2 years.
after 2 years. So it's kind of crazy. We expect to. We're probably going to bring again too many games. Like we cannot play everything at the same in the course of the board game night. But we're very excited. We may bring this just to show it. I feel like though there are other games that we would more likely show off, things like Tang Garden or New York Zoo. But hey, it's first contact day, so we can still talk about a Star Trek game. And this is just okay. Okay. Last things, Toby.
For me, I guess that's it.
Okay. Um, I know Mitch meant to say exciting, but you could also say exiting if you want, and that would be like playing exit games. We could do that too.
Because we're probably leaving the show and we're about to close. Shout out to Rocky from the Mirror of the Universe.
Yeah, I have I have a new friend who shares the same name. It's quite confusing and funny at the same
If
time.
he has no goatee, then you're the evil
Oh no, yeah, I am. Then I'm the mirror
Robin.
universe one. Oh no, oh no. Okay, um, and then well, all right. So that's the show. So if you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, Tobie No Shade, RG Suniko.
You could also check out our blog, badaypray.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. Are there other Star Trek related board games that you wish we had talked about on First Contact Day other than this one? Then feel free to chime in. And be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
I'm Tobie.
And this is Baduy Pride. Good night, everyone. It's not raining, it's humid.
Very